Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 33 called America. So America is an actress, a singer, and a model who I first saw probably about 10 years ago in the Broadway musical Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. And a mutual friend of ours connected us because they told me that she had an incredible infertility story. And wow, she does. When I think of somebody who never gave up no matter what, I think of America because she and her husband Christian have just been to hell and back again and again on their journey. And I'm going to let her tell it in her own words because she can do it much more eloquently than I can. So without further ado, this is America's infertility story. So, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
I'm glad I get to see you in person.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little more intimate that way. So, let's start out with just you and your husband Christian. How did you guys meet, and did you know that you wanted to be parents all along?
Yeah, we had a funny meeting story. We met in 2009 on a film. We're actually getting ready to go for a film. He came over to my house to meet me before we went to Philadelphia to shoot this thing, and we were leads in this horror film. And he walked in, and neither one of us sort of clicked that anything would happen. We were just sort of all business, and he said something like, I had some phone call and I had a problem to solve, and he sort of came in, met me, we had an interesting meeting, nothing clicked, and then he left, and there was nothing about it except he emailed me on his way home the solution to my problem that he overheard me having.
Oh.
And I just remember thinking, God, that is such a great, kind person to have taken the time and like to figure out like how to solve that. Like, I really appreciate that. And I was dating somebody at the time. I was thinking, God, I wish my boyfriend were like that. Like, that's who I'd like to meet.
Yeah.
So my relationship was on the rocks, and about a month later, we get to Philadelphia. I meet him again the second time, and again, just nice guy. I'm like, nothing's really clicking, and I think I was trying to set him up with the costume designer on the show or something stupid, and playing like wing women. And by day 2, we had lunch together over sushi, and had a lovely talk about life and his travels. And he's a photographer and an actor, and he's a political kind of activist. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is the kind of guy, like, first the other thing was like the guy that you'd like want to be with, and then this was like, oh, this is the kind of guy you want to have a kid with, like you want to like, he has so much to teach a child, and this is the kind of guy I'd have a kid with. And I was not wanting to get married. I was like, my other relationship was on the rocks. I had totally written off all of that, and I wasn't necessarily, it was sort of career focused. It wasn't necessarily like, I need to be a mom now kind of vibe. But it dawned on me when I saw him, and it's that moment, I think, sometimes where you like see the children in somebody's.
Yes.
You see your children in someone. And that was the first time I'd ever had that feeling, or I like thought, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And then cut to like 2 weeks later, my other relationship's totally dead, and we are engaged.
2 weeks later, you got engaged.
After that.
Okay.
After that sushi lunch, and
because you both just knew.
And what we said to each other was, I confessed. I said, when we met, I couldn't shake the feeling like I'd want to have a kid with you. I know that's like a really forward thing to say. I was 33. He was like 36 or 7 or something, and. And he said, yeah, you'd also, I could see that. And he like sort of accepted it. I'm like, well, then I think maybe, should we get married or something? Should we do that? And we're like, yeah, let's do that.
I love it.
Let's like get married and have a kid. So sort of like first, it was before even the thought of like.
That's so great.
Us being together. Yeah. So we went ahead and started trying like the next month.
Okay.
And we got engaged, and we planned, that was February, and we planned to get married in July. On July 4th weekend that year. But we started trying, we were like, let's go, let's try to do this. You hear that it might take a little while or something. And
right.
So like, yeah, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Why not? So we got pregnant right away.
Okay.
First try.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like,
how did you feel?
Easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that I was like,
piece of cake.
Kind of what I imagined it would
Sure.
be. Like we all thought that's how it works. You just stop. You don't use a condom and bang.
Right.
And I had never heard. I don't think I'd ever heard of. I think my mom told me she'd had a miscarriage once, but it's sort of back of my mind. But I think that was the only time I've ever heard of it. Like I didn't really. No one talked about it. No one shared that information. So I thought it was a very rare situation. Like. So it didn't dawn on me, didn't Google about it, didn't think of anything. I just was like, I was pregnant and I'm having a baby. And I'm like buying clothes already, right?
Right.
So I set up an appointment. Didn't even like rush to see the doctor. Like all the things I do now, it's so funny. I'm like so on it. Like,
Isn't it funny how things change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like, oh, I'll see her when I see her. This is fun. And I'm like, fine choosing names. And like I go in for my 6-week kind of checkup and she says, and I went alone. I didn't think there was going to be anything interesting. She said, she took a look inside and said, what's your date? And that was like, now I know that that's like the first marker of like, okay, get prepared. Like the minute there's a little discrepancy, it doesn't mean anything to all the time, but it does mean that maybe you should slow down buying children's clothes. So I went, she's like, the dates again, let's do, so you should be 6 weeks or 7 weeks now. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even, can you speak English? And she's like, well, maybe it's just still early. Maybe your dates are wrong. I'm like, no, I'm clockwork. I know exactly my dates. And she's like, then I'm going to need to see you in another week or something.
Okay,
like,
so the baby wasn't measuring what they were expecting it to be.
Yeah, and just totally like, what? So my sister called me, and then she was telling me about her experience having lost pregnancy before. She said the same thing. She's like, the minute they say that, like,
did you know about your sister losing her pregnancy, or was that
no?
News?
She started like, I started hearing a little bit more and more. Okay. People got a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and then I'm getting all the women telling me like, this is what happens, and this, and I'm going, right. Oh, we waited and just to see if something would happen. And it was on the morning where we were signing at the courthouse paperwork to be married, because we were getting married in Italy, so we were going to do it on paper and technically first. Sure. Was the morning of my D&C. So it's my technical wedding day is the day that I went in for my first D&C. And I remember thinking, I'm usually someone as an actor who's really in control of my emotions, and I always play the roles of people who are very, like kind of hard characters and not gonna see me cry. And when I was doped up, I went under for the D&C, and when I came to, I was just like screaming at the doctor, telling her like, what did you do to my baby? And like, just like lost it. Like I didn't even understand that I would, like, the feelings of what your body prepares you to care for this this being, and the drop, the boom of that being gone. Is
that's a really good way to phrase it, because it's
and you're supposed to do all you can to protect it, and I just let this person take the baby.
Right.
And then she said she was going to autopsy it, and I lost my shit.
Oh, man.
I was like, what? Don't touch my baby. And I'm like drugged out, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, hey, where's my baby? Like, oh.
Yeah. So how far along were you when they told you that it wasn't viable?
I don't think it grew past like 8 weeks. This is
and
not.
They wanted to do an autopsy to figure out what happened.
Yeah, just to see if there was any genetic disorder that would be recurring, or if it was just a one-off. And it turned out to be tetraploidy, which is a one-off. So the doctor got back to me and said it was like XXXY, something like too many X's and Y's, and so it's fine because it won't happen again. So just happens in a lot of kind of first pregnancies and stuff. I go, okay, lick my wounds. So that was like our first real experience as a married couple. I was in my wedding dress. I was still, hemorrhaging after not hemorrhaging. That's a terrible word. I was bleeding. I'm so dramatic. I was not hemorrhaging. I was bleeding.
Yeah.
And healing.
But it feels like hemorrhaging, and emotionally you're hemorrhaging, right?
Yeah. So yeah, in my wedding dress, standing there, just going, "Wow, this is how we start this journey." And that's interesting now, looking back 10 years later, that it was such a. Well, anyway, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, we cooled off for a little while, and we were deciding like where we were going to live too. So we hadn't even like built our life together,
right.
And I got a job. He really wanted to live in New York, and I like fortuitously just got a job on Broadway, which is like amazing,
right.
And got a chance to be on Broadway. Like,
right,
it's a big dream, right?
Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, like, big dream, big bucket list check. So
and I told you before when we were talking, I saw that show.
Yeah, that's
I loved it.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
so wild. So yeah, that show brought us to New York, which was a big goal, and so very excited, and I'm like getting myself up, ramping up for that. And I remember like we were trying in having some other misses, like other early losses.
Okay.
And then I was like, I can't, because now I'm in the show, so we have to stop for
so
a
like
little
chemical
while.
Pregnancies or something like
Yeah,
that.
there was another early loss,
Yeah.
like 6 weeks or something.
Okay.
And it just came and went. And so, but then I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't even play around with this idea, because I'm like hanging suspended 50 feet about in the air and in wire work. And
right.
like, there's no way I'm going to be able to be pregnant and do the show. So let's like cool off for a minute and figure out. But I started to get that anxiety because we had this plan and it wasn't happening. And then there's that hole that, once you've lost, that you just can't let go of. You're like, I can't just put this aside. It's always in the back of my head. Every cycle, it's in the back of my head.
Right.
Something's like, it's not, every cycle's an opportunity that I'm missing, and you're just looking like, that's a potential, it's a potential. And so it was killing me, because I was I was way conflicted between my career and that dream and this dream, which I know a lot of women deal with. At some point, I expressed it to some of the people that were working on Spider-Man that I was working with, and some women who had gone through infertility, like pulled me aside, and they're like, "Don't choose career over this. You have to time is of the essence. You have to go, go, go."
Oh, wow.
And I got this like big sitting down and talking to, because they'd heard sort of like the light version of what was going on, and they're like, "Don't wait anymore. Go, 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 go." And I panicked, and I was like, "Oh crap." But then I had this other thing, like, I need this job in order to sustain my life in New York. I also, in order to even like have a baby, I need to have an income. And I don't even know, like, I didn't know how I could do it all.
Yeah.
So right at that same time, we got a surprise announcement from my sister's sister-in-law.
Okay.
So it's my brother-in-law's sister. She is married to a man from India, and they were also going through their challenges, and they had adopted a lovely young girl, and it was a very difficult process to adopt from India, even as an Indian national. And they wanted 2 kids. They wanted a sibling for her, and they just couldn't imagine going through that process again. It was very, very, very difficult for them. It took them years to get all the paperwork done and bring her to the States. So they found this wonderful situation. This is something that India had started up around that time in Gujarat, which was Indian surrogacy.
Okay.
And they didn't tell us. I think immediate family knew, but I didn't know. I was like kind of extended enough to not know that they were expecting twins. And they announced the arrival of their healthy, wonderful, awesome boy-girl twins from with surrogate in India. And they were talking about how this was an amazing experience they had with this woman who, in this in the way that it's set up, the women get the money for their kids to go to school, and everybody wins, and they're having like more money than they'd ever get in their whole entire life. It empowers the women, empowers the kids, and empowers you.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is amazing. What could go wrong? And it felt like at that moment like the answer to all of my problems.
Right.
And it was affordable.
Yeah. Okay.
So, because there's no way, I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So my, 20,000 there is equivalent to hundreds of thousands here, right?
Okay. Yep.
So we go and take a trip, and we go and we meet everybody, and we went ahead and chose reputable doctors that we were set up to meet, and everything was great, and there was no problems. And I ended up going through IVF for the first time in India, and we and here's another thing of totally innocent, because I have no idea that IVF could not work. I think that once you have IVF, which is the other thing that I now try to tell my friends, you're like, I'm going through IVF. I'm like, do you have enough money for 3 cycles?
Right.
Why don't they tell people this?
Yes.
Like, if you're already having a problem getting pregnant, IVF might also be.
It's not a guarantee. Yes.
Not.
I was watching a show yesterday, actually. Tamron Hall, do you know her? She has a new talk show, and I just flipped it on the other day. And somebody in the audience, the whole episode was about IVF, because she went through it. And somebody in the audience said, can you have a miscarriage if you do IVF? And I was like, yeah, I didn't know, it's such a, now I'm like, well, obviously. But I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't know much about it either. It
feels like a sure thing.
Through it.
So people come up with buckets of money, and they put it out, and you take all this stuff, and you're like, okay, this will do it. I'm going to throw this much money at it, and they'll fix it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. I was like, there's going to be no problems. So I remember waking up from the IVF cycle, and she's like, so empty follicle syndrome. And I was like, huh? What does that mean?
Yeah.
She's like, well, there just aren't any eggs. I'm like, huh? She's like, well, we got like a couple, and we'll see if they fertilize. And I'm like, what do you mean we'll see? What is all this we'll see?
Right.
Like, I didn't understand. So they were like really negative about what they said the quality wasn't that great. And like, I'm like totally like not fertile. Like,
okay. So wait, you had to move to India for like a
didn't
short
have to move
period
there.
of time,
we
or
just
went
for a
visited?
couple, we went
like
back and forth
cycle.
a few times, but we went for just for the cycle. So it was 2 weeks.
Okay, gotcha.
And so they call me. I had to rush back, and I was in a film in New Orleans, I remember. And I remember getting the call, and they said they were shocked. They're like, you're pregnant, with your surrogate. And,
oh, wow.
So you're pregnant, you're a surrogate, and you guys are pregnant, and everything's going well, and here are the numbers, and they were astronomical numbers, and I started to learn what all that meant, and then I started Googling. Like, I'm starting, like, Googling empty follicles.
Yeah.
I'm doing, like, I didn't even know what that was. Is it a thing? I'm starting to now get in under the hood of what things are.
Right.
But not enough, because so we carried on. We got really super excited. Everything was great. Didn't necessarily tell everybody up front, because it is a little unorthodox, and people nowadays, I think this is a little bit more common than it was in 2010, in 2011.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Oh my God. People don't know surrogacy at all, let alone in India or like abroad, right?
Totally. Yes.
So when I would tell people this, like, shocked would come over their faces. Like, our family was like, you did what and where? What is happening right now? And we're like, why is everybody upset? This is a great thing. And we had a picture. We knew where everybody, we knew where the surrogate, we knew the doctors, we knew everybody. Like, we have like this lovely group of people that are our friends and like kind of extended family in Delhi now, because we've been back and forth, and we feel very comfortable there.
Right.
Like, we're like, it's not a shock to us. It feels like, New York is extension of New York to us. But to other people, they're like, you did what and where and what's going on? And we're like, oh God, we didn't. This is sort of like our news when we got engaged after 2 weeks. We're like, what are you doing? What do you do this to us? So everything was going really well. And we had such great communication with the doctors and with the surrogate, and lots of pictures and ultrasounds and high-def ultrasounds and tests. The only thing we didn't do is we didn't do the amnio, because there was no cause for alarm. Nothing had triggered.
Okay.
And I didn't want to risk anything.
Right.
And there was just like absolutely nothing, no problems. So we just kept going. We kept doing like high def and 3Ds and all the, the level 4 scans, yada, yada, whatever they're called. And everything kept great. So I remember they thought it was a boy for a while, so we named our boy, which is interesting now in retrospect. We're like, oh, all the high def things, and we didn't know its gender.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, and then we were told sort of toward the end that she's actually a girl, and that changed. We're like, that's so interesting. Okay, bizarre. And that the surrogate was having some like water retention issues, and there was some way they worded something that was like, we'll see if the pregnancy needs to be terminated or something. And I think they meant like that she'd have to be induced earlier, but it was a little bit of a language kind of discrepancy. I was like, terminated. I was like,
Oh my
shocked.
gosh.
I was like, wait, what are you talking about?
Right.
Because we were
Talk about getting thrown for a loop.
Yeah, we were far along. We were like way third trimester, and I was like, terminate, blah, 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 and I was kept trying to get her to correct it, and she wasn't correcting the word, and I didn't understand. Huh. So cut to, I remember they said that she's now been put on bed rest, and I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, can we do anything for her? Yeah, put her on, like, why hasn't she been? We should be feeding her, chocolate and grapes every day. Like, someone massage her.
Did you have a relationship with the surrogate, or was it more
there's
like
a huge language barrier?
I mean, obviously, and you guys are far away, so it must have been tricky.
Yeah, but no, just as much as we could do on Skype,
like supporting her as much
FaceTime and stuff, and just throwing whatever they ask us to. Like, okay, this is what she needs. Great, here you go. We got a call in January. She was due in February, and we get a call January 12th that she's been born, and we're here. Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so she came at like 35 weeks. Okay. I think it was 35. And we're like, holy crap, like get on the plane. Like,
yeah.
And we had no other news.
Imagine.
She's in NICU because she's under like 5 pounds. So she's in NICU. And we're like, oh my God. Okay. Get the plane. We got like the most, whatever the next flight was.
Yeah.
We scrambled to get over there.
How long is that flight?
14 hours.
Okay. That must have been excruciating.
I think
did you have any information? You just knew that she was early
no information.
Okay.
And surrogate, it was rough. It was preeclampsia. Wow. She had emergency C-section. Surrogate's fine. Baby's in NICU. Crisis averted is what it sounded like. Like everybody's stable.
Right. Just get here.
Get here. Everybody's stable. This was like, wasn't pretty, but we're fine. Like, come. So we get there, we land, and it's like 7 p.m. So we land, and I'm like, take us to the hospital. And she's like, no, she's in NICU. It's not open now, or like that kind of thing. Like, go home, sleep. We will eat in the morning. I'm like, I gotta sleep.
How can you relax?
There's no freaking way. Like, take me to the NICU now. And just the anxiety of that was intense. We tried to put our mind off of it. I remember we went out that night, and we're like with some friends in Delhi, and they were celebrating, trying to say, "Yay, your parents!" I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. Like, how are we? Yeah. It must be how like men feel when they're at war or something, and they hear that their child is born abroad, and they're trying to celebrate, but that feeling that they can't be there, you know? Like, right. I've had such compassion for people who are like separated like that.
Yeah.
Which women don't usually get a chance to feel, right? Because the surrogacy is a bit new. So I felt that we were digesting, we're sort of grinning and bearing it, and like, okay, yes, breathe through it. But the next day, we didn't get called to the hospital. We got called into their office. Mm-hmm. And we're like, why are we here? Where's the NICU? Like, and she's like, no, we need to talk. And then she's asking us strange questions. She's like looking like, do you have any history of genetic issues? And we're like, huh? And she goes, no. And well, let me see your ears. She was measuring our ears, and it's weird behavior. And then I went, she's not okay, is she? She's not okay. And then she sort of shrugged and said, there are questions. We have to do tests. Mm-hmm. So we got into a cab to finally go to the hospital, and I'll never forget, we got rear-ended in that cab. So we got in a car accident on the way to and just the jolt of that, and the anxiety and the stress and the news, and like, I was like, an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
And we get to the hospital, and we see her, and she is she's hooked up to all sorts of machines, and she's just clearly not gonna make it. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I got to meet my daughter.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
So we get to the hospital. We see her all hooked up, and my mind is racing. Like, what is wrong with her? What's going on? We had all we had the video, the 3D stuff. They measured everything. They did everything. And it came out that they were running tests for trisomy 18, which is like a very, very severe form, similar to Down syndrome, but in more not one that people live long, you know, not like Down syndrome where you can, you know, live a decent life. We had to hurry up and learn. They were running tests, and we had to, we only got little moments with her too. And
right.
then
you probably didn't get to hold her, right? Did you get to like touch her or anything?
So not then, because she was way too hooked up, and she'd already been through a bunch of surgeries. So they had to already work on her in order to keep her, you know, alive. They were without us being there. So much was going on that I couldn't even digest. She had a hole in her heart. She had, you know, the organs weren't right, and the skull wasn't quite wrapping around her brain properly. She would never be able to eat, speak, breathe without a respirator, like nothing. The only thing she could do is she could see us, and we could look at her, and you could see her sort of silently screaming and tracking us. And I just kind of wanted it to stop so badly. I was like, I can't. I don't know what to do as a mom in this scenario. I don't know anything about trisomy 18. I don't know what her chances are. I don't know how to help her. I'm not even in my country. I don't even know the language here. Like, I mean, people speak English, thank God, but like, there's a lot of things happening that are falling in the cracks because I don't know the right terminology for them here. Right. And we have the best care in India, and things are top notch. That's not a problem. But they're looking at me and what do you want to do and this and that, and so we had to go home, and I mean we cried, and to the point of throwing up, of like a level of sadness that I don't think I've ever felt or don't wish on anyone. But I mean, just sad, and so sad, and just sick with not being able to help and do something. And we still didn't even know if it was this. Like, we still are waiting. Because at first they were like, it could be Down syndrome. We're like, okay, like wrapping our head around that, fine. And then this was the next shoe that dropped, and they're like, but it's probably this, and because of all the other tells, there's certain things that you can see. So the hardest part was so it was a couple days of the back and forth and going and asking. They did do some more procedures, and they asked us if we wanted to do this, that, and at some point when they realized she wasn't going to make it and she was going, then she's on life support. They're saying you have to make a decision now, and I'm grateful that things happened fast to help us with that, but it still felt like there was too much in our hands for something that I didn't know enough about, and we had to just say, what do we do? And the advice was to let her go in this scenario, and from a lot of people and professionals. And so we had to make that quick decision. So she passed away. That was when I first got to carry her.
Oh.
Because she passed away in my arms.
Yeah.
And I like to at least sit with I wasn't able to carry her in life, but I carried her in death.
Yeah.
And in that transition, which I will keep as my only, my only experience of her. Like, that's me and our daughter, Indira. And the things you just don't think about, which is what you do with a baby at that point. And so the next adventure was trying to figure out how to get, what you do with your. We sat with her a long time, actually. And we went to another hospital. It was a long story. And we have to get, the death certificate. You have to wait for all these things. It's just so, like, all the administration bullshit that you just can't, like, my heart is, like, broken to, and people are coming with you to pay bills and give you, papers to sign. And I got her death the certificate at the same time as her birth certificate. Which they expedited just so that we could, like, try and being foreigners, like not knowing what to do. And I remember we sat with her for hours in this room. They let us just stay in this room, and we laid with her and we stared at the ceiling, and that was our whole entire life with our daughter. That was it. It was.
Oh my gosh. How was Christian?
He, at some point, said that he had like this out of body experience. Through just your mind just can't handle reality, I think.
Right.
And he had some very interesting spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
And went into something that we now call the malaise, which is you just can't care and you're caring too much. It's like you shut down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like I can't. And then you stop kind of finding joy in things. You're just sort of like going through life going, I guess, like you're not taking the highs because you can't handle the lows. So you just sit in the middle.
Right. It's easier to shut off than like be exposed to all that again. Or
So we realized you're there to be strong for your partner. And I was a mess. So I think he was also trying to like, we also know another rhythm is like he holds it together for me when I'm a mess. And then like later he has his drop, and it's like comes out a lot of times in anger, and he doesn't know where it's coming from. And now I see the rhythm like, oh, no, I know what this is. This is the post you've been carrying me. And now you need to lose your shit.
Yeah. I know that well.
Yeah. So, so we were getting to know, I mean, look, this is still kind of early in our marriage too, and knowing each other, period. So this was quite the, it was the toughest decisions you have to make as a parent is the only decisions we ever got to make for her. You know, like we didn't get to choose like, you know, what her first food was going to be or something fun. It was just like, it's life and death. And that's all we got. Cut to February. That was January. Christian, we flew directly from India to Toronto. He had to work on a show, and my God, I had quit my life. I just dropped everything. I bottomed out. I'm like, I'm just don't know. I'm not functional. So he had to push through it at work because that's what you do. And he went on set. He was working a show, and I was in Toronto with him, and I was spending every night. I wasn't sleeping. I like lost a bunch of weight too. It was just like super weird and skinny and like crazy. And I was like, I know what I need to do. I just need to get pregnant. I need to do like, that's going to fix this. I don't know. Like logically it doesn't make any sense because that doesn't take away your, one child is not a replacement for another.
Not,
and
but
like,
I know what you mean.
Like, but it's a whole, like I need to see something alive. I need to have a life. I can't have death. I need something that I can touch and feel and that has rosy cheeks and says, like just life. I need life again. So I decided to start trying like right there. I don't even know if I talked to Christian about it. I don't think he knew where I was in my birth control or anything. Because we were doing birth control during that time because I wasn't necessarily trying to have a baby at the same time as, so I was actually on birth control. It was a weird thing.
Okay.
So I went off of it and I went to panicked and like went to a doctor in Toronto. I'm like, I remember I was just like trying so hard, just like make it happen, make me pregnant, and like, where am I with my cycle? What are my numbers, Right. And got like kind of a rundown of where I was and like started mapping things. That's when I got really into the information on my own. Like I started learning about how IVF works, what your numbers are, what the hormone levels are supposed to be. I got into chat rooms and I'm talking to people all over the world all night long, 4 a.m. How do I do this? How do I get pregnant? What do these numbers mean? That brings me to how I found Pamela, because it was right around that time that somebody said that there was a woman in California who was the first of her kind who created this grant program that was completely inclusive of everyone in all scenarios, non-judgmental or discriminating, and finding money for people to have assisted reproductive assistance.
Right. So Pamela, for people that are listening, is the founder of Baby Quest, right? Can you
Baby
just
Quest
give us
Foundation.
a little, the Baby Quest Foundation, tell us a little bit about what that is.
It's a grant program. And so I heard about this woman, Pamela Hirsch in LA, who had created this grant foundation to help people with the high costs of, assisted reproduction.
So great.
And it was so nice to know, just to know that there was somebody out there that recognized this
right.
gap in assistance and was just out there to help people. I was like, who is this person? Like, so I wrote her sort of a fan letter, because I'd heard all these people like talking about her, and what Baby Quest is, it's a grant foundation that covers the high cost of fertility treatments from anything from surrogacy to IUI, IVF, and who it's the only one, or at least was at the time. I'm not up on anybody else. I hope someone else does this, but she's the only one who at that time was not like connected to a doctor or connected to a type of religion, or she was open to same-sex couples, single women, people.
So great.
Whatever problem you have, write a grant. We'll take a look and see if we can help, and all different kind of ranges of financial assistance. So sometimes people raise a certain amount and they need like the finishing funds, or sometimes it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
that's so awesome.
Yeah. And there's always, there's certain grants that are earmarked for military or for cancer, but I would just go to babyquestfoundation.org and see what is there. There's been $108 million in funds awarded since then.
That's
She's one woman. She
Pamela. That's amazing.
She and her daughter, I should say. I'm so sorry. She is just. She's such a powerhouse. She and Nicole both founded this together, and Nicole's her daughter, who is also has a surrogacy agency, and went through all this and on her own, and Pamela recognized that how hard it was for her, and then thought like they had the means to be able to do something that a lot of people can't, and she saw that. Such a big heart. So she just went out there and started raising money for people.
So cool.
Amazing. So there's been 107 grants and 78 Baby Quest babies born, and
so great.
It was all positive. Like it was so nice in this dark tunnel to have somebody that's like, I'm Superwoman. I'm answering I'm helping bring light and happiness and joy to this place that's so dark. And
so what happened? You wrote her the letter, and then did she write you back?
So I wrote her a fan letter. I don't think it was right then. I just sort of was stalking online a little bit and learning and kind of going through things. And I got pregnant after 2 cycles. At that point, it was like March I got pregnant. After we'd lost Indira, and then immediately kind of like got into it like this was, and it was a natural conception, and I was in it like this is what I should have done the whole time. I didn't need to do the surrogacy. That was crazy. Like blame myself. I just need to do this, and oddly, I felt like I had been stabbed in the womb after Indira passed, and I had like a pain there, like literally like a ghost pain of like a stabbing feeling, and it never went away. And during that whole pregnancy, I just bled and bled and bled, and I have a little bit of an immune issue that they told me, it's like a lupus-like thing, that they told me might be the reason I was having problems carrying. But I'd never really seen any other indications of it. The autoimmune thing didn't really come out in any other way, so I kind of always went like, no, it's probably not that. Like, but I have like high ANA levels and all these other things that indicate that there's like a high immune response. So when I started bleeding, the doctor's like, what are you doing? You have this issue. You needed to be seen at the RA. They need to be looking after your pregnancy. And I sort of like did backpedaling. And I kind of forgot about all that. Like that was a problem I also had. Like I just thought like I've always been somebody like you just work harder and then it'll happen, right? So I just needed to work harder at it. And then I realized, and I learned all this stuff online and forgot that I actually had this other thing. So then I'm playing catch up, but of course I'm bleeding so much and they can't make it stop bleeding. And I bed rest for months, and like, then I've only thing I have time to do is Google talk online to people, get more and more terrified about what.
So you're joining all these groups online and stuff, and like
hearing more about Pamela.
Yeah.
And
so how far along were you at that point?
I lost that boy at 5 months. He was supposedly perfectly healthy because I did all the tests then.
Okay.
But I didn't do amnio. It's right when like maternity 21 came out.
Okay.
And then after we also did like an autopsy and we did like a full panel and they said the baby was fine. So, but when I lost him, my water broke because of the bleeding. I just bled, and apparently just couldn't handle it anymore and wore down the sac or something. That's what they assume happened. And so I had to go in the hospital and I had to deliver because at a certain point, you can't really do the DNC and stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to go, you could do like, I think a D&E is something else and then it takes a while and you have to set it up. And so my water broke, so I had to just go in and I had to go to deliver.
Oh my God.
So we delivered him in, was it June or July of that? So it was a summer. And that's when I understood what postpartum feels like.
Yeah, I bet.
And that was another, so it was like both hormonal and situational depression.
Right.
And it was brutal. I just remember being like, I remember seeing a bus pass me once and I contemplated stepping in front of it. Like that was the only time in my life I've ever felt that, where I just wanted to stop. Like I didn't care about life. I felt more connected to death than anything. And I felt like, oh, that's where my children are. Like, let's go there.
Oh.
You know, it just like, it really messes with you. So,
yes.
And, you know, then you go and you make yourself wrong for everything you ate. I ate, you know, some shellfish I shouldn't have eaten. And I shouldn't have done that thing. And I was doing yoga. I probably shouldn't have done yoga. It was when I, you know, bounced on the yoga ball. It did it. And, you know, you just go through all this crap in your head. And shouldn't have, you know, had those drinks back in high school that messed up my system. I mean, like, whatever.
Right.
So my husband and I, like, went through very, very dark time after that. So, and I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. Then you go through the complete, we were not connected to one another. We're not connected to, he, you know, now he's unpacked so much of it and he's an actor and he's a wonderful person and he knows, he's very in touch with his feelings. He speaks about them and he goes to therapy and we both go to therapy.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
So he now looks back and he realizes, like, as my husband, he just didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And similarly to the daughter, like, he can't fix anything. And it was his impulse. And a lot of husbands I've heard just want to fix it.
Yeah. My husband's like that too.
Yeah.
They want to be, like pragmatic about it, when sometimes all you want is like, there's nothing fixable. You just want the hug or I don't know. That's
their value. Our default value is to, you know, as women, is somehow connected to this primal, you know, thing of needing to do this thing that you can't do. There is a bit of that. And then there's their primal need to, like, fix it and save everybody and take care of, right?
Yes.
So kind of unpacking all that ancient, you know, responsibility that we both had to do. Like, we both had to be like, I might not be able to do this for you. And he's like, you're not doing anything for me. This is us, you know? And he's like, I can't fix this for you. And interesting, later, I always had that fear that maybe he'd find somebody else and maybe he should. Maybe I should support him to have a baby with somebody younger and that time would come eventually, you know, in our marriage. He'd be like, okay, but now I really want to go have my babies and you can't do this for me. And so there's that weird fear there. And later he came out and said the same thing to me.
Oh, man.
He said, I thought you were going to find a man who had enough money to hire a surrogate here and to be able to do that, and you were going to be able to have your baby somewhere else. And
that's some real talk right there.
And we were like, what? Like, you're carrying the same, like, he can't fix it, I can't do it. Like, so we went to Burning Man that year. And that was the first year I went. He'd been once before. He told me it was a great place to go. And the topic was fertility 2.0.
No
Turned
way.
Out to be we didn't even know when we decided. We're like, we need to do something crazy. We need to go to Burning Man, you know. We're like,
I love
that's what we're gonna do.
I love it.
And we did, and it was actually really wonderful. And we like kind of broke. We needed to get what Burning Man's great for is like be able to see everything from another perspective. It's like going to Mars and looking back at Earth and being like, okay.
Oh, that's a really good description of it. Yeah. Okay.
You know? And so we got perspective, and we did, and it was great, and it helped. And we came back, and we were like, we don't need to have kids or yet. And if we do, maybe we'll find out, because there's always that, maybe you should adopt. Why don't you just adopt? We're like, yeah, that costs a lot of money, hun. Thanks. But, and it comes with its own stresses.
Oh, yeah. It's not easy either.
No, it's not a guaranteed baby in your life. So I don't also need to lose other babies in other ways. Like, so let me just, thanks for your suggestion. But like, maybe it's okay we don't have kids. Maybe we can be those people who, you know, like get up at 10 and 11 and every day the rest of their lives and travel the world.
Just move to Burning Man and go there every year.
Go to Burning Man every year and like, sure, let's do that. So we started getting comfortable with that. And then it was 2014 when she's a lovely person who connected us to the doctors in India called and said, you know, I can't sleep thinking about what had happened. It still really eats at me and I want to be able to help. And she said, if ever, and I think she'd said this before, but she'd always just check in with me. She's like, if ever you need me to do anything, I will help you. I do have some people who would be willing I will cover the costs. You come and I will do this because I need to help you. Yeah. So, I always thank you so much. You have a good heart, but we are done. Like we can't. In the midst of that, I went to undergo a round of IVF. I remember that. And I went and just to have, like, it made me feel like I saved up enough money and I talked Christian into it. I'm like, just because we're here now, but maybe we won't be. And I know it's like time is running out. Let me see if I can get an egg and we'll just have something. Yeah. We'll have something. So I did. And like, sure enough, another crap like cycle. And they got one that fertilized and that passed PGD. And she was a girl. And we put her on ice. And I didn't know if I would be good to carry her because obviously that wasn't working out too. They said I'd have to be on certain meds in order to sustain a pregnancy. And like, I didn't know what that would entail. And I was like, let's just sit on it. I had friends coming forward saying they would be our surrogate. Oh, wow. The beautiful people offering. And I just said, we're not ready to enter that. Right. We just need to just want it there. Thanks. So one day, like on a whim, we were like we had that. So it was like in 2013 or something or whatever. In 2014 is when I was talking to this woman and the mediator. And she said, I told her, she said, where are you with everything? I'm like, well, we have one on ice. She's like, send it to India. I'll do this. Send it to India. We'll have somebody carry it. It's good. It's not going to be bad. I know this and this. Like, I'll have a surrogate. Wow. I will pay for it. It's done. Yeah. And then that's it. Okay. And then part of me was like, okay, well, I'm ruling out the problem we had before. Right. It's a different doctor. We different surrogate, everything. She's like, we're starting clean. And, and I thought about it and said, I'm probably never going to be able to use the egg otherwise. Mm-hmm. We sat and talked about it and we said, you know what? I'm willing to let it go. Let it go. Let's see what happens. We'll just see what happens. So we sent it to India. It didn't take. Ugh. So that was it. And then we were like, shoo. Okay. That doctor calls and she says, come to India. Let me do this. Oh my God. I can do this. And we'd start, because we'd already made a relationship with her because of the sending. Right. We didn't just send it out into the void. We made a relationship with this doctor and she was very nice. And she's been working with our friends on the successful pregnancy, another, everybody's great. And then, we really started sitting with like, wow, we really had a one-off. Like that's never, or we have a lot of bad luck, but like none of this is consistent. Right. Maybe we should make amends with this situation. And one way to do that is to like give it an opportunity again. Oh my gosh. Wow. But I realize it's also desperation. Like it's also somewhere in the back of my head. I just was desperate to kind of rewash this experience with a good light and to also just make this void stop and make this constant nagging in my head of like, you have to do this, like stop already. And I didn't know how to do it. And we didn't have any more money for anything else. And so we flew to India. I had miles. And we have friends there. So I have miles. That's what I could do. And I had favors. So I'm like, I'm going with what I got. And we show up. So we met them in person because we hadn't met before. And when she tried to do the transfer, So I went and underwent my third round of IVF, and they got one again.
Okay.
They seemed to be good for one. They didn't have a lot of hope. They said looked pretty shabby. And, we stayed there for a little while during the process, of course, but we had gone home before at the time they told us that it had not worked and surrogate was not pregnant. And so they said, surrogate's up for trying. She's totally into it. And would you consider egg donor? And I said, are you saying you're going to do, they're doing this for free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're going to do this for us? Like, yes. Because they're also looking to make good with the mediator too, because she's bringing a lot of clients in. And this is a solid that she said, I'm going to pay for anything over it. And they're paying for this. We are taking care of you.
Okay.
This white glove service. Egg donor. We chose the egg donor. It was a very interesting process. All of that, as you know, or not, but as people know out there, that's also just such a wild thing.
Yep.
But it was exciting.
Yeah.
And I felt like finally I was no longer the curse was taken out of the situation.
Interesting.
I am the person who can't do this. So cut me out of the equation.
Yeah.
I don't want to have carry it. I'm not the good egg. I'm don't even let me Google. Just take me out of the equation. I will be there for the diapers. So she prolific egg donor, all went well, and we got pregnant with twins. Craziness. So that was a new thing.
Okay.
All of a sudden, from
so complicated.
Feast or famine, right?
Right. Okay,
now we have twins. Holy crap. So that's going everything. One thing, we did amnio, we did all the stuff.
Yep.
Everything's squeaky clean, going great. Couldn't have asked for a more idyllic situation. And I had a dream one night I couldn't shake, and then I went to an audition. It was interesting, and a charm on my bracelet fell onto the papers of my audition next to a word that I won't repeat, and my body trembled, and I took a picture of it. I sent it to Christian, and I said, something's not right. Wow. And it was at that moment that her water broke at 6 months, and the babies didn't make it.
Oh my God.
And we didn't even know that at that time. We found out within. So now we're back to where we were again, just gutted and hyperventilating, crying again.
I'm just so sorry.
Just the worst kind of sadness. And she has me on the phone with the doctor, and she said, I have another surrogate, I have another egg donor, and they're in cycle right now. Just say the word. I have your husband's sperm. Just say the word.
Yeah.
And don't do it. Just don't let me stop. Don't let me stop. Don't even think about it. I'm doing it. Just say the word. Just say the word. And I was just crying. I'm like, I don't know, you're good. And I was like, I don't know, out of my mind. Just sort of said, I don't even want to know about it. At this point, I just tell me when the baby's born. I can't deal with this. And I don't even know why I keep doing that. My husband's so patient. I don't know why he hasn't tapped me out at this point. It's just take the computer, take the phone, lose these people's number. Don't ever go back.
But the desperation that you talk about is real. And I think you get into a mindset where it's you'll do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And here I was coming from, and I was coming from we're okay, we're going to Burning Man, and then didn't even think I was going to need to go down this path again, and then sent that, egg, and then it just how it snowballs to this place. So she does it again, and everybody's successful, and everything's going well, and we get pregnant with a girl. Egg donor, surrogate, everybody's happy and healthy. 5 months pass. I have a dream. Scorpion crawls up my spine and snips it. I wake up and sweat. I said, Christian, something's wrong. And sure enough, her water broke.
This is, wow.
She's now in the hospital with her legs up and trying not to move, trying to keep the baby in there. And we're trying to figure out, what are the chances that it's just wasn't working out. Screaming, crying. The level of, I just don't know how much more I can take. I don't know.
Right.
So I think I kind of broke at that point.
Yeah.
I just broke. And then just shut off, like numb to it. Like I stopped seeing babies as babies. First I'd see healthy children and like kind of didn't want to deal with them. And just like people like birthday parties and things for my nieces, nephews, and I was trying so hard just to be like,
it's so hard.
Trying just to I love them, but just the constant like reminder of like that's how old they would be. That's right. Would she have my niece's eyes? Would she look like, I don't know, stupid crap goes through her head.
That's not stupid.
And you just can't. And just how old Indira would be by now, and what if this happened? What if I didn't do that? And da da da. So so just shut off to it, and then stopped trying, but also stopped trying not to get pregnant, and just started getting pregnant a lot.
Okay.
That was my next, and just stayed. I think I stayed pregnant for a few years and just kept losing.
Oh my gosh.
And I just buy sticks by the pounds.
Right, the giant bags of sticks. Yeah,
I have tons. Like, and it's so embarrassing when I show somebody scrolling through my iPhone, like my photos, because there's like sections of just sticks and stick progression lines for like 3 rows, and then like they drop out. Right. Then progression lines. Right. I have like, it's so embarrassing. I have to like clear them out.
No, that's not embarrassing. I think you had told me though that you lost track, right? Like of how many times. And...
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't. At some point, I got pregnant with a boy that did like go farther, and everything seemed great. And it was actually twins. I lost one early, and then the boy started coming through, and everything looked great. And then I went in for my like 3-month scan, and it was a mess. And I knew what I was looking at. Like the nuchal, the NT was bad, and everything was. And they were like, this is not right. This is probably trisomy 18 again. But then he tested negative for trisomy 18. We didn't know what it was. And then it turned out to be a rare, like 1 in 400,000 form of achondroplasia dysplasia type 2. And it's a type of dwarfism that's so extreme that the bones fuse so quickly that they shatter in utero. So his bones were shattering in utero. And so the rib cage was slowly piercing his heart, and
oh my God.
I had to fly and get all these opinions because it was something that no one's seen. I went to the top of the line to Cedars-Sinai. I flew to LA because that's where they have a specialist that does it and blah 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 that like can tell what this is, and because it wasn't coming up on any charts. It was literally like no. They kept saying like it's like every panel was like healthy. So I progressed that pregnancy further than it had to because we were trying to figure out what it was. And then finally when they called it and they found what it was, I was too far along again to have a D&C and all that, so I had to deliver again, and I had to go to the hospital. And at that point I was admitted at Cedars, and the nurses came up to me and they were like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nope, don't say you're sorry. I knew exactly what I was doing. I do not deserve your pity. I am a crazy person who keeps doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and I will not accept your pity. Go away. Like, don't even, like, just let me do this. I know how to do it. Just leave me alone. Right. I know the routine. I'm just going to deliver the freaking baby, and we're done. So delivered him.
Wow.
Which was horrible because I didn't, like, get painkiller. It was really weird. So I did, like, a whole, like, I don't know why. Like, I was kept asking for painkiller. It was stupid. Like, anyway. I went through a whole, like, regular delivery.
Wow.
To the point of being, like, out-of-body experience. He came out and no one was in the room. I remember my sister had left and the nurses weren't even there. And because he wasn't full size, so he, so it came out easily without help. And I remember just being, like, hitting the button. I'm like, okay, I have the baby. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, I did. And I just sat there and I looked at him, and I got so used to carrying, like, from miscarriages to deliveries to full baby. I'd carried so many, dead babies. Like, I had, like, this experience was so comfortable.
Oh, wow.
And that scared me. I was just like, I couldn't even cry.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh yeah, hey there.
Yeah.
So,
Oof.
you'd think that was it, but then I just kept getting pregnant more and more and losing them after. And then last year, I got pregnant again. And again, like, I remember my other doctor retired, and she was like, please don't get pregnant anymore. And I started with a new doctor, and I had gone into the doctor. I said, I have a problem. I need you to take my uterus. Like, I have an addiction, and I need it out.
Wow.
Like, it's not going to stop. And she's like, well, I don't know you that well. You were just handed over. Like, give me a minute to, like, kind of learn what's going on. I need to make sure that you're, like, in the right, like, let's have a cooling off period before, like, I give you a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but you'll think about it. She's like, I'll think about it. Let me catch up on your files. I got pregnant before I could see her again, right?
Wow.
And I was like, it's not her fault, but I was like, I told you not to let me do this again. And she's like, yo, this is gonna be great. And like, she like looks inside, and she literally, I remember her saying, she's like, it's sort of like a debris field. It wasn't even like a baby. It was just like debris.
What?
Just from like, I think from getting pregnant a lot and like probably not getting a D&C a lot, or like.
Oh, wow.
It would just sort of like, just kind of, just pregnant-ish. Just stuff that's like kicking up hormones and like not becoming. She's like, maybe there's something in there and I don't see it or something. So like, it's like, I had to wait it out for like months.
It's like a battlefield.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Wow.
So that didn't turn into anything. It was literally just cells. And the way that I was starting to see pregnancies is just groupings of cells and things. You know, I stopped thinking about it as babies, and I had to go to Planned Parenthood just because I didn't have time to deal, and I had to cross a picket line, and the lady in my face saying, don't do this to your baby. And I just turned around and I was like, whoa, back up. You are playing wrong game, wrong person, wrong time. I'm like, do you realize that, like, not all pregnancies are like babies? And if I thought that for a second, I would have, like, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go into that, but I in my coping mechanism, I was just like, I can't go down your line of thinking.
Yeah.
That this grouping of cells is like a soul that I was supposed to bring to this planet. I can't.
Yeah.
You can't make me do that.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it. So stop. You're not helping. She's like, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, go be sorry at home somewhere.
Right.
Not here. So did that, and then got really busy with work, and had to go to Canada, like way northern Ontario, Canada, in like the woods, and write for a TV series. And didn't see my husband like all summer, and I was really into my work and really totally forgot about pregnancy for a minute. And of course, I wasn't getting pregnant because my husband wasn't there.
Right.
And I started like, I was like actually really stressed out, and like drinking like pounding coffee and wine, and like vaping, and taking like, you know, like caffeine pills to keep me up at night, like
what?
And like sitting in the corner of a dark room, not exercising, and no sunlight, and like writing a show. And like if I smoked cigarettes, I would have had one, like an unashed cigarette and a martini in the other hand.
I can picture it.
The worst you could possibly be to your body is what I did to myself to get through that summer, because writing is a very unhealthy sport. So I made it through deadline, crazy, sleeping 10 minutes a night, like never been so stressed, like trembling stressed. And interestingly enough, like I'd come back to New York for a second. I thought my job was done, and Christian's like, we need to get a new car. Like our little sports car is not working anymore. It was coughing its way to its death. And we went and got an SUV, which is so weird and so unlike us. We got like a little mini kind of SUV.
Yeah.
Why did we get this? Like, we got talked into the upgrade, right?
Yeah.
And then, so it's so funny. We're like, oh my God, we have like a family car. And then I got called back to work. Oh, no, you're not done. You have to do this, that. Flew back there. Barely saw Christian. Like, and he calls me. He's like, you know what? I want to go see my family. He's from Toronto. He's like, I'm going to drive our new car and, like, drive up to see you. I'm like, that sounds great. He's like, I'll break it in. So he drives up, and And like, by the way, I think I had like 3 periods a month at that point. Like I was like literally did not know where I was. I was so stressed, and it's sort of like perimenopausal. Like now I'm going through changes and stuff.
Gotcha. Yes.
So I'm like, so I started taking some natural remedy for perimenopause, which is maca, to help regulate your hormones.
Yes.
So I started taking maca, popping maca, and it was starting to regulate my cycle, which is good, but I have no idea where I am. My husband comes up, happy to see him. We haven't even had a night together in God knows how long. And I open a bottle of wine. Hey, hun. And I think he assumed I would say something, or like, because we were trying not trying to have baby.
Right.
Didn't talk with one another about where we were and what we were doing yet again. And had the baby dance. And then woke up the next morning, and he was like, oh my God, you're so hot. Like, get off of me. Which we have been pregnant so many times that it was usually a time that is probably ovulation, probably right then. And we shot up and looked at each other and went, no way.
Oh my God.
No. And I was so tired, and like, how am I even ovulating? I should be like barren from this experience. Are you kidding me? Like, and
you're like, I'm made of caffeine and vape smoke at this point.
There's nothing healthy about me. There's not a green vegetable in me. No more like all that Pilates and green drinks I was doing to try and get pregnant before. Nope. And and he was sort of tired in the middle of the night, and he's like, huh, it's a girl. And then he went to sleep, and I was like, what? What does he say that? What does he mean? I went to sleep. Tried to forget about it. Wasn't even thinking about it. Did go do... I as much as I was forgetting about it, I was also collecting information. So I was pregnant a lot, but I would just go, and my doctor... I called her, and I said, look, I think let me just check, see what happened. I think I might have hit it on the ovulation, and she's like, what do you need? She's caught up on the history, and I said, I just need you to give me a prescription for the hormone tests, and I'll take care of it. Like, and I'll let you know if there's something to talk about. So for the first few weeks, I would just tested my own levels, and I had them fax me the results.
Wow.
And I'm like,
you're such a pro at this point.
I didn't want to burden them. I was literally like, I felt like such an, like, just burdening everybody, wasting valuable resources trying to do this crazy thing because I'm insane. So just let me do this on my own. And it got to a point where I called her. I'm like, I think something's happening, like, for real. Can you take a look? And so I went in, and she took a look. She's like, God, it looks really good. Like, everything looks normal. And I'm like, what? And I go, okay, well, it does until it doesn't. You know? And I didn't connect to I didn't have any dreams. And all those dreams and everything else that I felt connected to and every other time, I felt like nothing. I felt nothing, not connected, to the point where I couldn't bear if anybody bought us anything. They were like, where's the baby going to sleep? Where's the nursery? Like, once people started to, like, kind of get hip to the idea that I was having a baby. Right. I was like, I said, no, we don't need a nursery. She's going to sleep in the closet. And I was convinced that she was going to sleep in the closet because I couldn't think of making her a room. I felt like everything was going to jinx this. Yeah. And I couldn't touch it. And I didn't say anything to anybody. And every time they'd find out if I was pregnant, I'd be like, I'm kind of pregnant-ish. So I'm like, it doesn't mean anything for me. Not like other people.
Well, that's like self-protection too, right? After all you've been through.
I just don't want to have to call you and tell you it didn't happen. The armor
is on.
Yeah. When you call me, you're like, how's it going? I don't want to have, and then I don't want your pity, and I don't want to have you go through it either. So I'm like hitting 6 and 7 months, and you know, I'm showing, and people are like, I'm like, nope, we're not. Like, and we did all the tests up and down, and you know, and she's passing with flying colors, and we are having the weirdest experience where I'm going in, and I don't know why. I'm walking into the doctor's office and the hospital for the scans, and for the first time at 43 years old and 47, my husband's 47, we got a chance to see what it was like when it goes right. Like, we walk in, and we didn't even know people that could smile in these places. Like, people are like, hey, how are you? Wow, it looks great. They used to tell me they weren't allowed to say anything. Like, I'm not allowed to say anything. The doctor has to tell you. That's bullshit. Because Because when it goes well, they
when
tell
it's
you.
good, they can tell you.
They just like, hey, everything looks great. Wow, healthy baby. And we're like,
oh my God.
They do tell you. Like,
oh, that's so interesting.
And it's the first time in my life that I've ever.
Such a good point.
I've ever like wanted to be average too. Like, you always try to be better. And I'm like,
right.
this. And I'm literally like, where are we on the
under
scale?
the radar.
Like 55%. I'm like, good. Nice and average baby. Basic baby. That's all I want.
Just a basic baby.
Basic baby. Don't tell me there's anything special going on. I don't want to hear it.
Yes.
And we passed every visit with flying colors. And it was the easiest pregnancy, not a drop of blood. Gave birth naturally. 15 minutes of pushing.
Oh my God.
No problem. She's healthy, touch wood. And I still couldn't put her in a nursery. I still like, everyone's saying congratulations after she's born. And I was like, yeah, but, you know.
Right. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right.
Anything can happen.
Right.
And people keep asking me, like, are you over that? And I think every day it chips a little away.
Bit.
Like, I'm starting to learn to be okay with, this might actually
she's
happen
okay.
now. She might actually stay
right.
with us.
And how old is she now?
She's 4.5 months.
Okay.
And she's just pure joy. And she, like, is kind of like the perfect baby. Like, she sleeps through the night.
Yeah.
She's happy and
oh man.
I'm just so grateful. We're just so grateful.
Hey again, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with America, and thank you to her for the real AF talk. I mean, that was intense, right? And thanks to Christian, too, for opening their lives and their story to us. I hope you guys walk away feeling inspired and just in awe of them, because I certainly am. I did get to meet their baby Senate recently at a Baby Quest Foundation charity event, and she is just the cutest, and she's so lucky that she has these fierce people as her parents. So thanks again to them. If you guys want to hear more about Baby Quest, go to babyquestfoundation.org, and all the information is on there. Please donate and support them, and pass this episode on to anybody you think might benefit from hearing it. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you next time.